I'm a musician. I'm hearing. I often think to myself about how accessible the world around me is. Then I figured I should look at how music is accessible, particularly to the deaf and hard of hearing community. This talk is closed captioned, and the transcript is available in the description. I started learning American Sign Language in high school just as a hobby to learn another language. I then learned about music interpreters and found that a super interesting path to look down. I had thought about studying to become one, and maybe I still will. At this time, I am not a certified interpreter, but just enjoy learning about deaf culture and understanding the world with limited or no sound. The purpose of this study is to explore the ways in which the music industry could be creating more accessible concert experiences. I began researching ASL interpretations of music and learned that a common term is signed music. I watched interviews with popular interpreters and began learning about how signed music is structured. I also worked with the community music ensemble at Wilfrid Laurier University to interpret a song in their fall term concert. I began planning my research interviews and what I wanted to gain from them. My interview questions were focused on multiple topics, ranging from different accessible elements like closed captions and interpreters, how the theater community is ahead in terms of introducing accessible elements into their shows, and how to advocate for the deaf and hard of hearing community as someone who is not a part of it, such as myself. I interviewed members of the deaf and hard of hearing community, as well as members of the theater community and one of the founders of Music Not Impossible project. All individuals interviewed are Amanda Lynn, Leah Gennaro, Robert Bola, and Daniel Belker. The goal of this project is to create more awareness around different experiences of music. Every individual experiences music in their own unique way. Some individuals require adaptations in order to fulfill their needs in how they want to experience music. This can be headphones, earpieces, interpreters, captions, vibrational technology, and many more. There are so many elements that can be incorporated into music or concerts to heighten the experience. Think about a concert you've been to. Were there lights that corresponded to the music? Big screens so that everyone who were further back could still see the artist? Speakers so that everyone could hear? You may not realize, but there are many elements already included in concerts in order to elevate the musical experience, and there are others that can be included in order to give every concert goer their own full experience. Let's begin by talking about interpretation versus closed captions. These are the most common tools used to create accessible content. Estimated 1 in 1,000 Canadians uses signed language as a first language. You may be familiar with this symbol, which means closed captions. Many of us use them on Netflix or when at a doctor's office when the news is playing with captions like this. This is a helpful tool for many individuals with hearing loss. However, auto captions are far from perfect. Alternately, interpreters are wonderful for showing expression, especially if someone is speaking with a straight face. Robert had mentioned that it's great to have both present, but Amanda acknowledged that interpreters cost more and may not always be accessible in a budget. It's important to see both sides and think about your audience. Work accessibility into the budget if it is proved to have a significant need. There are many different perceptions when it comes to music. Should there be captions for the lyrics? Yes, but the downside is you don't hear the length of each word or if it has multiple notes moving along with it, as well as the rhythm. Should there then be interpreters? Yes. They can help to show the mood and the flow of the music and lyrics. Signed music is as aesthetically pleasing to the eyes as auditory music is pleasing to the ears. Are we interpreting music to provide access to the auditory experience? Equal access to music begins and ends with providing a hearing sign language interpreter who listens to the music and translates it for the deaf audience. Some in the deaf community say that signed music is not connected at all to the auditory experience. We tend to associate music with hearing and to think of visual forms of music as simply an interpretation of the auditory experience. Others do not recognize music and concerts as part of deaf culture at all. Not everyone experiences music in the same way, and we can't generalize the views of one community. At concerts, there are many different ways individuals experience music. Hearing people listen with speakers that amplify sound. The deaf community has multiple hacks, some better than others. Visual elements are the most engaging. This is where interpreters and closed captions come into play. Many deaf concertgoers feel vibrations either by standing close to speakers or holding a balloon to feel the vibrations. These hacks, however, only give one track of vibration. If you think about it, there are multiple instruments playing a song, but you're really just feeling the vibrations of all of them mixed together or muddied. This is where Music Not Impossible's vibrotextile technology excels. It takes multiple sound inputs and distributes them as vibrations spread across different parts of the body. There is a vest, as well as wrist and ankle bracelets. Daniel describes it as a
surround body experience.
It's quite miraculous how it was designed with the interest of the deaf community at the forefront. Often, products are created for the deaf community without consulting their needs and then end up not working for them. Daniel had been told that the greatest advancement for the community was the invention of the cell phone. Now you might think, cell phone? You talk and listen on a cell phone. But the ability to text and send video messages proved to be an asset for the deaf and hard of hearing community. This goes to show that even a product that wasn't created specifically for the deaf community is still cherished by them. This is how Daniel described his path with Music Not Impossible.
So we did the reverse path, right? Something was created for the deaf, but then it started including the hearing.
It's important to have multiple options for everyone to experience live atmosphere music. This is why it's important to hear from deaf and hard of hearing individuals to know what would work best for them in our road to a more accessible world. Amanda specified a few of her own tips that she picked up along the way. She speaks her knowledge and promotes where it was heard. Fear of mistakes can sometimes stop us, but it is best to learn and keep growing. The disability community is used to things being a bit messy, so mention it up front. For example, will not have live transcription. Be open to accountability. We can't just advocate aimlessly and say we are helping. It doesn't work that way. We must consult the community and see what they need. Amanda mentioned the road to accessibility through innovation.
And I think that it just really goes to show that like making things more accessible and making things more inclusive really leads to innovation and creating better art. Like it's not something that should be seen as an obstacle. It's something that at the end of the day, like benefits everybody.
I asked my interview participants to describe what they would change about the concert experience in order to make it more inclusive. Many said that they would be open to having vibrotextile technology at concerts. They also pointed out that it can be expensive, so it may not be possible to have the technology for every audience member. Leah mentioned that lights and fog can be distracting. This also gets into other abilities and problems with light sensitivity and breathing. Some extreme light effects and other special effects may need to be reduced. Or creative choices that support broader accessibility and inclusivity need to be worked in. This doesn't necessarily mean you need to provide accessible elements for every single concert that your venue hosts. The theater industry often hosts relaxed performances. Relaxed performances are specifically designed to welcome patrons who will benefit from a less restricted audience environment. Patrons of all abilities are welcome, including but not limited to those with intellectual or learning disabilities, sensory processing conditions, or autism. There is a relaxed attitude to noise and movement within the auditorium, and some minor production changes may be made to reduce the intensity of light, sound, and other potentially startling effects. This description is from the Stratford Festival website, but relaxed performances also take place at the National Ballet and the Royal Canadian Theatre Company, among others. This is an accessible element that is added in order to bring in a more diverse audience. Something I found a bit shocking is that theatre is ahead in terms of accessibility. They have adaptable performances with captions on screen and interpreters, as well as the relaxed performances. I asked my interviewees why they thought that was. Many remarked that it is likely due to having scripts which are simpler to translate. An incredible resource is the Deaf Artist and Theaters Toolkit. DAT serves as a resource to increase the feasibility of collaborations between professional theater companies and deaf artists, as well as to increase engagement with deaf audiences. This online toolkit provides a guide for theater companies and is informed by Cahoots Theater's research and learnings from the development and production of Ultrasound by deaf playwright Adam Pottle in 2016, with input from the deaf community, theater community, and audiences. Not only is this a wonderful toolkit to get people involved in accessible theater, but it is very educational as well. There is a section on cultural context, speaking about deaf culture, ASL, sign names, etiquette, and terminology. Signed music takes a lot more time to prepare. It must be signed quickly and often restructured to fit the meaning of the song. Signed music is usually not actually word for word. This would be signed exact English, or C, which many hearing signers try to do, but can be difficult and also give off a different mood and meaning within songs. ASL song structures are much more open, taking the meaning of the phrase and representing it through signs, not translating it word for word. This doesn't mean that it is easy to do. It takes a lot of preparation, working and reworking, and is quite complex. Robert expressed how he feels when he interprets songs.
I kind of look at it where I'm the singer, and the singer is interpreting me.
Sign music has evolved alongside music genres to include new vocabulary. Chance the Rapper's sign language interpreter, Matt Maxey, demonstrates the signs for hip-hop vocabulary in this video.
This is fine. That's dope. That's fine. Everything acoustic. Everything good. Everything goody. Candy paint or candy paint. SKIT. SKIT. SKIT.
When I worked with the Community Music Ensemble, I enlisted the help of my friend Leah, who is hard of hearing, on how to go about signing the song, Will the Circle Be Unbroken by Mavis Staples. She helped me figure it out and practice, and it turned out great. I learned a lot about finding the meaning of the song and showing it not just in my hands, but my facial expressions as well, which is super important. For example, the first lyric is I was standing by my window, and I signed I, stand, window. But my standing sign was done to the side right next to where I would sign window. This represents the meaning of the lyric and shows the overall idea. Robert also mentioned this helpful tip.
Consider just standing there going like, swinging your arms like that, or go, that's music, or, humming along, or just standing and bopping. It shows absolutely nothing to a deaf person.
When I signed, I tried to show what the instruments were doing or playing, which is one option. Robert mentioned that he likes to set up scenes with some ASL poetry during an intro where it is instrumental. He likes to make it visual, and the example of if the song mentions walking down a street, he takes the time during the intro to set up the scene of the street and show the trees that line the street and preface any other important details. Here is some advice from some of the deaf and hard of hearing interviewees. Leah mentioned that
just because I can understand what you're saying when you're speaking does not mean I can understand what you're saying when you're singing. You're moving your mouth in whole different ways.
music is a lot different than speaking, and people's expressions change as well as their mouth shape. So those who rely on lip reading have a much more difficult time with singing. Mandy Harvey is a deaf singer who has worked with Music Not Impossible to develop the technology and gave advice to the deaf community on their experience with music.
You're not experiencing it wrong. You're experiencing it differently. Let's both experience it together.
Now you might be thinking, accessibility seems like a lot of work, but if you put in the work, you will see the benefits. Working accessibility into the budget will open concerts up to a greater network of people, therefore increasing your audience reached. It's important to make your entertainment services available to all who wish to access them. Everyone deserves to experience music fully. Take a look at the budget and allocate some funds toward creating accessible and inclusive environments. I'm not asking you to add every single inclusive element to every single show at your venue. Promoting certain nights where there will be interpreters or relaxed performances is the first step. Accessibility shouldn't be an afterthought.